what I make of it is those are spot markets. They are not the actual physical users of gold and silver. So with everything, all of the money that's been pushed into the system, the pricing on everything and the volatility everywhere is on the movement of the money from one area to another area. Because all of that money printing that the central banks have been doing, it's not like it evaporates after they print it. It's got to go someplace. So it is the flow of funds that are determining the ups and the downs. That's one thing. Now, another thing is gold is a savings instrument. And so when you're looking at the movement in both gold and silver, has that role changed in 8 weeks? No, it's still the same role that it's had forever, because there are 33 different, and there could be more that I could count, different users of physical gold on a global level and 36 different users of silver on a global level. Did those users of the physical metals evaporate? No, they did not. But the trade, the Wall Street traders, the bank traders have moved from one asset into the next asset. And, so you're seeing us in the middle of a war in many places in the world, by the way. And yet you're seeing the only true safe haven asset, because physical gold, physical silver in your possession runs no counterparty risk. Everything else is counterparty risk. So gold is really, and silver too, continue to perform their function, but particularly gold as a savings vehicle. I mean, if I get into fiscal problems, because I have a staff that I have to pay, this is my savings. I will liquidate this to make sure that I can ensure paying their salaries, etc. This I don't liquidate because this is my wealth preservation. That's a slabbed coin. But this raw piece of bullion, this is actually not bullion, it's a pre-33 coin, but it's just a raw piece of gold. This is my savings. And if I get into trouble, I have something to fall back on. What I'm seeing, and it's never just in one area. So if you're looking at what's happening in the gold market, you have to look at what's happening everywhere else as well, and to kind of weed through and see the truth of it. Because again, you're talking about it being a liquidity provider. If somebody needs cash, they have to sell, they have to liquidate whatever the markets will bear. But at the same time, gold and silver were getting an awful lot of attention and a big movement in that direction. Do governments, do central banks want you, the public, the individual, to actually hold your wealth outside of the system? No, they don't. They need your wealth in those intangible assets because it's much easier to trick you and to transfer your wealth away. So there's a number of reasons, but Kai, I think this is like a really important point that I want to bring up, because it was January, and this trend has not finished yet. It was January of 2025 when we first started the movement toward the physical markets dictating price. So even with the volatility in the spot markets, in the physical markets, like the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you're still seeing premiums. And that's proving that demand has exceeded supply. And sure, because there's a finite amount of this. But again, I'm going to say, do central banks and governments want you in something that's outside of their grasp? The big shift is that those countries that formed that cartel that basically had almost a chokehold on having the ability to price the oil in the global markets, well, that's now broken. It's now shifted. Just like in January 2025, when we started, or when Europe started shipping over physical gold and physical silver. Anytime there is a major pattern break it is an indication that wherever we are in this trend cycle, we have evolved beyond that. The system that we've grown up in, that we are trying to figure out, it's dying. It's an aging system, and the system is falling apart because what it really is a big lie. And what all of these moves are indicating is that it's time for the truth. Just kind of the same way that affordability sort of matters now. Yes, affordability sort of matters. And so does supply and demand. I mean, you tell me how we can have negative rates on energy. Did the market for the entities that use energy, did it evaporate and actually go negative?
It didn't.
Right? Exactly my point. And so I think that because of where we are in the whole trend cycle, the system is breaking down. It didn't start today. It's not going to be finished today. This started a while ago, and it's not over yet. So you take advantage of what you can get your hands on, right? If you can buy gold spot, if you can buy real gold cheaper, buy it. Just because the spot market is moving, that's not an indication of true valuation. That's just an indication of markets, that the movement of money sloshing through this or through that. And really, so much of it has always been designed to keep you away, keep the public away. This is not a short-term wake up. This is a longer-term wake up. I mean, honestly, Kai, here in the US, if you have people that have to borrow money for their weekly groceries or borrow money for their basic maintenance of utilities, et cetera, that problem has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And, when they talk about that K-shaped economy and the K-shaped recovery, when you have those extremes, people start to notice it and they start to get unhappy with it. And let me tell you, we are going to hit a tipping point. I can't tell you exactly when, but we are going to hit a tipping point where the public does not want to work for, corporate debt. Because that's what this is. And I don't care where you are in the world. It's a note, right? That's what we're told. And it's backed by the full faith and credit of the government, which means the government's ability to create even more of this. People have realized that the dream, especially the younger people, that what they were told, all you have to do is go get a good education and follow all these rules, and you'll be able to afford a home. You'll be able to afford a family. You'll be able to educate your children, plan for a retirement, maybe take a vacation, et cetera. Well, it's not just here in the US, but people around the world are realizing that that's not true. It's just not true. And so that inflation, when they go to the grocery store, they go to the gas pumps, or they go for their insurance or to buy anything, the cost of it is so high that they cannot afford it anymore. That's when people lose confidence in the system, because it is not working for the public. It's working for the corporations. It's working for the few at the top. If you think about it, what are governments and central banks constantly testing? Consumer confidence, sentiment, inflation expectations. It's those expectations and the confidence that is holding this all together. So when the consumer or the public loses confidence, then you have a rise in protests and you have the distrust of the governments. So if they say, well, this is going to fix the system, nobody believes them, right? And they lose their power. Coming together, think about it, Kai. You got 1% that's ruling the 99%. You don't need the 99% to get it. You need 3%. That's all you need to see what's happening and understand before you have a revolution. And so that is what I see lying in our future. But I do see the hyperinflationary depression, because for some people, we're already in a depression. I mean, that's something that I saw in 2008 with the Occupy Wall Street movement, and that was a global movement, but they didn't know what they were fighting for. I see it as well with the socialist movement, particularly in the US, where they're calling for rent control, but they don't really know what they're fighting for. It's not rent control. How about money control? That's really, what do they say? Money is the root of all evil. Well, I don't really agree with that particular statement. But if you give a monopoly to entities like the government and the central banks, and I'm saying, actually, let me back up on that. When you give that power to corporations, because central banks are private corporations, more than any other bills, if you get your hands on a US bill, it says Federal Reserve note. What's going to end up